Joining me today, Sagar Kulkarni. Did I get that right, Sagar?
That's correct. Yeah.
And Sagar's a sales engineer at Snowflake, and you've been there for quite a while now, right? 7 months. I mean, I guess it's a great time to join. Certainly here in like APG region where Snowflake's really starting to take off. Certainly from what I can see, and this conversation, Sagar, has been a long time in the making, right? So we spoke at the end of last year. And
Yep.
we penciled this slot in like even before Christmas to have a chat. But I was really keen to have a conversation with you and get a good sense of kind of what a general day in the life of a senior sales engineer at Snowflake looks like, and get some kind of stories from the field. Um,
Sure.
but also you've got a lot of experience, just generally, right, going all the way back to software engineering back in India, many, many years ago. And I'd like to kind of, cover some of your career history, how you ended up at Snowflake after such a long stint at IBM for nearly 16 years. So I think it'd be great and really interesting for some of the listeners just to hear how you went on that journey. Certainly, there's a lot of people, as you're aware, interested in Snowflake and interested in computing in India and trying to get into to places like Australia and the US and
Mhm.
stuff as well. So I think it'd be really interesting for those kind of people as well. So welcome and thank you so much for making the time to have a conversation. I know you've been busy this week as well.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Adam. But first of all, congratulations for being the super data hero. Is it called data superhero, right?
Data
Data
superhero,
superhero
that's right.
for
Yeah.
Snowflake. That's amazing,
Yeah.
and it's really been an honor for me to have a chat with you. Such a wide range of expertise that you have, and with Snowflake, you have got such a deep knowledge. So I really, really appreciate being with Snowflake, partnering with Snowflake, and having that expertise in Snowflake. And thanks for having this chat with me. I think I'll learn a lot from this chat than the other way around.
I was hoping it was going to be the other way around, actually. So we'll see. We'll see how we go. But no, like my pleasure, to get you on it and kick off the new calendar year with a good, valuable conversation that'll hopefully benefit a great deal of people as well. So let's start at the beginning of your kind of journey back in India, back in the 2002. Like, can you tell me how you got into, software engineering and IT initially? Like, what was the pull towards that, or was it something that you kind of fell into and then made the most of it? So it'd be great to
So
kind of hear.
it's an interesting story. So I started my education when I was doing my education after year 10. I went into like we have got TAFE courses in India. We have got diploma courses, and I went into diploma rather doing 11th and 12th grade. I went to on that side, which is technical. And when I was year 10, I was super interested in electronics. And at that time we used to have tape recorders and all those electronics things. I would like to go and open those up and see what's the circuit is inside there and all those interesting stuff. So when I went to diploma, I said electronics is my passion. I'm going to go and follow that passion. So that is where I went for doing my diploma degree. And then after diploma, I went to do my bachelor's in electronics too. And it's interesting, when I was doing that, my parents would tell me, hey, this is something, there's something called computers, and the whole thing is going to be software. You should be doing software, you should learn software. That's going to be a good career choice. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I love electronics. I'm going to focus on that. And while I was doing my engineering, we had one little subject which was on C, C++. And that subject really hooked me in. And that was the turning point. When I was learning that subject, I said, yeah, I'm good at logic. I'm good at writing a code. And I enjoyed doing that. So that's the turning point where I said, maybe my parents were correct. Maybe I have this thing about software. I can learn software and I can do a good career in software. And that changed the whole thing. And then while I was doing my electronics engineering, I started learning software on the back end. Or like I was doing electronics engineering degree during the day. At the night, I will go and code something at my house. I would do gaming codes. I would create games. I would create compilers.
Wow.
My first compiler I created was, you put something into a normal text language, and how would it convert into a C code? So I did that using C language. So that's how the whole love affair about coding started. And then after my engineering, I said, hey, yes, electronics, good, but I think now I know what I have to do. It's software. And then I went and did a diploma in advanced computing in software. So that's how I started my journey towards software. Obviously, 2000 was the year where the bubble bursted. Everyone's jobs lost in 2000, 2001. And that's when I graduated from my post diploma, you could say, or advanced computing diploma degree, and there were no jobs. So I was jobless for almost a year.
All right.
And
Okay.
but that's when I said no, I have to join a software company, or I have to join a company where I'm doing software coding, and that was my passion. So even though there were jobs in electronics company, I said no. I'll wait for the right opportunity, and I struggled for 1 year almost before I got my first job in Renault Electronics. It's a electronics company. It creates your programmable logic controllers. It's using automation. So, PLC, it is called PLC. So there's to manufacture, and I joined their R&D department. And that was all fun. I was doing, all new stuff. I was doing R&D every day. It was really one of my best jobs. It
Yeah.
didn't pay me well, but one of my best jobs.
It sounds like a great learning ground, right? To do R&D every day, and get paid for. You're almost getting paid to learn, and then I guess from there, never look back, right? In terms of the engineering discipline, so you moved on to kind of the big players, the HSBC and Wipro's. How did you find that transition into such huge kind of enterprise scale companies?
It's interesting. Your questions are very interesting, and it's helping me go back in my past, and there's some
Trip
really
down
good
memory
moments.
lane for
Yeah,
you.
exactly. So when I was in Renew, I used to work crazy hours. Like I would work 16, 17 hours a day. I was passionate about what I was doing. But then there came a point where I said, hey, I've done everything here. There was no learning curve. So I need to do something more. Maybe I should go into a multinational company. And that's when I said, let's go into HSBC. So I was part of their global technology center in India, and we used to develop software for HSBC. So I went there. So coming from 16, 17 hours a day work, going into this big organization, and there was absolutely nothing there. Like it was so quiet. And that really annoyed me. I was like, give me some work, give me some work. I was hungry for some work. And after some time, the managers there, they decided that, hey, we don't have anything in C, C++. Are you willing to learn new technology? And I said, absolutely, 100%. You teach me anything, you ask me to work on anywhere, I will do that. And that's when I entered data warehousing and data engineering. So my first string into data engineering was at HSBC. I learned a product called Data Stage, which
Oh yeah.
was essential at that time, and then IBM acquired it later. And that's where my data warehousing and data engineering journey started in HSBC. Another good company to work with. Really enjoyed my work. That was also a company where I went outside of India for the first time. So I went to US a couple of times through HSBC. A really good company, and really enjoyed that work there.
Did that kind of plant the seed at that point then for looking for opportunities to leave India ultimately as part of your career?
No, it was not. So I always believed that you know I would go where I would enjoy my work, rather than having set mindset that I have to go to US or I have to go to Australia. So I said, see, if I'm enjoying my job in India, I would do that. If I'm getting paid enough in India, I would do that. So it was never in my mind to go outside of India until I joined IBM. So till that time, I was really happy just being in India. Traveling, obviously, I enjoyed traveling. So I enjoyed traveling as part of HSBC, as part of Wipro. I joined Wipro later, and then obviously IBM. So I traveled across ASEAN countries, traveled to US, to Europe. So yeah, it was fun. But never in my mind I thought I would end up in Sydney in Australia, or even never I thought that I'd go to US. It was never planned. So it was like, look at the opportunity. If the opportunity is great, then we'll think about it.
Yeah, and I guess that's quite interesting, right? Because it probably then happened organically for you. So you mentioned Data Stage, and that's an IBM product, right? And then you ended up at IBM then a couple of years later, working for them. initially in India, but then you kind of made that transition to Sydney in Australia through that role, right?
Yeah, correct. So what happened is I was in India for 4 years with IBM, and at that time I was part of professional services at IBM. I really traveled across ASEAN region. I was looking after ASEAN, so Singapore, Philippines, Malaysia. When they travel extensively, a lot of big projects in India. So like Bharti Telecom, there was Idea Telecom. So worked on those big projects, and then I was looking at opportunities. What are the opportunities there in IBM? And I had so much good network. And that time I saw an opportunity in Singapore and in Sydney. And I said, okay, well, we'll give a try. And that's how the Sydney thing came up. I had a colleague in Melbourne who had worked on ANZ Bank, and I was supporting ANZ Bank in India. So that's how we met through that common project. And then I asked him, hey, should I apply? And he said, yeah, why not? And I applied to IBM Australia, and they said, yeah, we are willing to take you. And IBM sponsored my work visa, and I came here, and then they sponsored my permanent residency. And after that, I filed for my citizenship. So yeah, that's how the transition happened.
Yeah, and that was way back in February 2011, right? So quite some time now you've been here in Australia in Sydney. I'd be interested, because I've only been here myself sort of 3.5 years. How have you seen things change in the kind of tech landscape in Australia over that time since you came in? Have you seen it change much? Because it's obviously somewhere behind the US and Europe and the UK, and that's always been the case. But do you feel it's kind of made inroads in terms of closing that gap at all during that time that you've been here?
So I always thought when I came in 2011, I thought the opportunity, the marketplace, the share of the market in Australia is very small. It's still small compared to US. It's not significant as if you compare to US, but it has grown. It has grown a lot. So there are a lot of jobs now compared to what they were when I came in 2011. So in 2011, when I came, the perception was if you get a job, just stick to that job, because there were not so many opportunities. Now there are so many opportunities. Now I can see there are companies willing to take people. The companies need talent in Australia, and Sydney and Melbourne especially, but they are not finding the talent in Australia, and that's why there's a lot of immigration happening inside Australia. So that's one change I've seen. The second thing that I feel, and again this is my view, my personal view, is I always felt our Australian market, although small, it's still ahead of US when it comes to innovations. So all our technology, our banking sector, we have got telecommunication sector. I think the technology that they are using is much, much ahead to what their counterparts are doing in US. So from that perspective, I always worked on a first of a kind projects in Australia. And that's what, that was really great.
And it sounds like, throughout your career, you've always been someone that's wanted to kind of jump in and try and learn new things and put your hands up for new experiences. Do you see that looking back now through your kind of career experience, that has always been a trait of yours to kind of do that and to kind of get involved with new, interesting kind of technologies and jump straight in there?
Yeah, and I think it should be a characteristics of any software engineer. That's what my recommendation is to anyone watching this. You should be able to learn new things. You should be able to, raise your hand and say, "Hey, I'm going to go and do this thing," because that's how you learn. The thing that I learned throughout my career is if you go and do something which is outside your comfort zone, that's when you start learning. If you keep doing same things, right, every day in and out, no matter how good you are not learning. You're doing the same thing. So I would definitely recommend that. I always keep that as my number one point. If I see something new, just go for it, learn it. Maybe you won't like it, maybe there won't be any use of it, but at least you learned something new, and that's how you grow your career.
Yeah, and I even see that in the role at IBM, or the different roles at IBM. So even though you were there for nearly 16 years, you had a number of different positions there, right, to give you that
Yep.
that variety that you kind of craved. But then I guess after nearly 16 years, then what was that kind of catalyst or that driver for you to move from there then
So
into Snowflake?
So 16 years in IBM, I was so comfortable after 16 years. I knew
Yeah, it's
everything,
hard
what
to
was
move then,
happening.
right? As you
It
get,
is
you're
hard
part
to
of the
move, but
furniture.
correct. But that's what happens. You become part of a furniture, and I don't want to be a part of furniture. It can. So every morning when I woke up, I wanted something exciting, and that excitement, that rush, that adrenaline that you want was not there. And that's because I knew everything. So even the presentations I would do, I could just do it if you
With your
wake
eyes
me
closed.
up. Right, exactly. If you
Yeah.
wake me up and say, hey, you want to do a presentation on this product? Yeah, I'll do that. So it was like that. And that's when I said, say, what should I do? Should I retire at IBM? And I could. And IBM is a great company. It's given me such a fantastic career. Uh, I really thank IBM for where I am today. But a point came where I said, hey, do I need to retire in IBM, which is what, next 20 years, I could still be there in IBM. I would still be relevant. I know that. Or should I learn something new? And that's what was happening for last 5 years. So it was not a abrupt decision. It was like, should I change? Should I change? And every year I would postpone my decision because, like you said, there was a comfort thing, right? Like I was saying, hey, I've been in 16 years. Everyone knew me. Should I be jumping out of this into a new company where no one knows me? I have to start from scratch. And there was kind of, fear factor where, should I do that? And I said, yeah, after 5 years, thinking a lot after 5 years, I said, no, if I don't do it now, I'll never do it. So it's time to move on. And when I said I want to move on, then I started looking out for different companies. Which companies should I move? And then there were obviously choices where I said, hey, maybe I should go to a data engineering or ETL product manufacturing company, or maybe go to a cloud company like AWS or Microsoft. So, or governance. I was good in data governance, so I was thinking of data governance companies too. So a lot of choices there. And then Snowflake came in, and one of my colleagues in Snowflake, he said, no, you have to join Snowflake. It's a great company. I said, yeah, but I don't know whether I should be. So I was not convinced initially. And he said, no, no, go and look at our Snowflake zero to Snowflake quick start. And I went and did the zero to Snowflake quick start. It was so easy. It was so simple. I said, is it really simple? I actually called him and I said, is it really simple and easy? And he said, yeah, that's the selling point of Snowflake. And I said, if that's the case, I'm joining Snowflake. Because throughout my career, in 20 years career, I have seen products which are very complex to use. And that's not good. I mean, it's good for, let's say, SIs and people who are contracting, but it's not good in the long run. And I was amazed how simple a product can be and a platform can be. I said, okay, this is the company I want to join. Let me see what opportunities this company will give me. And that's how I ended up here. The role that I applied was for partner sales engineer. So I'm a partner sales engineer. I'm not a sales engineer who work with customer. I work with partners like you, Adam, and other partners, regional SIs. And I say, yeah, I'll go from there. We'll see how it goes. And last 7 months has been fantastic. Like it's amazing.
And that's great to hear, right? And just to go back to your point about the simplicity of Snowflake, often when you talk to clients who are looking at evaluating Snowflake, often they find it too good to be true. Some of the functionality, when you describe stuff like zero copy cloning to them and data sharing, they almost can't believe what you're telling them because they almost need to see it actually working, but it's like, people who've been around for a long time, they've been burnt in the past by people and all the marketing hype and all the buzzwords.
Yep.
And it's interesting because you explain some of these capabilities that come out of the box with Snowflake and, are very accessible, like you say, to a whole heap of people. You don't necessarily need to have very specific technology skills tailored to Snowflake. You can get away with a lot of native SQL or even just using the interface, right? So it is quite striking how many people that you talk to, in terms of that process, almost find it too good to be true. And I guess I'm interested in, when you've moved, then you've made that move, from quite what I would imagine a good company in terms of IBM, but a traditional one at that's been around for, many, many years, to go to almost like I would call it in Australia, like it's more of a startup mentality of Snowflake because it was just kind of getting traction, starting to really take off during the time that you got in there. How did you find it from a cultural perspective? And was it challenging for you to kind of, like say, move away from that comfort zone in IBM where you'd been so long and then into Snowflake, where I can imagine the pace of activity and the way things were done was almost very different as what I would perceive?
Yep. So yes, the culture was different. The first culture change was a lot of young talent in Snowflake compared to people who are old like me or even older than me in IBM. So that was the first change that I saw. But in things of the way the things are changing in Snowflake, the same things did change at IBM when I was working on their platform, because even for their platform, it was a kind of a startup. They were uh, creating a platform from scratch. So I had already experienced that at IBM when I was working at that platform. So not a big change on from that perspective. And the characteristics that I always bring to a table is, do your work 100%, give always 100% to what you do, always keep learning something new, and make sure your customers are happy. So customer comes first, and in my case, partners come first. So if you have those three principles, no matter whether you go to a startup company or whether it's a legacy company, you'll always flourish. So for me, that it was not a big kind of a cultural gap. It was like, hey, I was doing this, now I'm doing this for a new company. So it was a pretty good and easy transition for me.
Yeah, and just the your title itself, right? Partner sales engineer. Yeah, it's got the dreaded S word in there for some technical people, sales, right? So it scares a lot of people away because they think of the used car salesman, that kind of approach. But and I see that the sales married with a good technical background and experience is quite a rare but potent combination. And it's obviously something that you've developed over, a number of years in the field, right? You've always
Yep.
had elements of sales, I think, in a majority of your roles, from what I can tell. And just thinking about that, then, what does that actually mean on a day-to-day basis for you? So, you're working with partners as you described. Are you helping them co-sell into clients as part of opportunities? Are you having to get hands-on and solve certain problems, like from a proof of concept perspective, to help with that sales cycle? I think it'd be great, and certainly very interesting for me, just to get a bit more of an understanding of what your role entails and what does a good partner sales engineer look like in terms of being successful at Snowflake.
Yep. So with at Snowflake today, the partner sales engineering role is a little bit different to what it would be at other companies. So we focus on enabling partners, and I work with regional partners, so regional SIs in Australia and New Zealand. So that's my focus. So main focus is make sure the partners are enabled, they know the value of Snowflake, and they can deliver on Snowflake. So that's my first objective. The second objective is to ensure that any deals that they are working with are successful. So let's say if a partner is going and responding to a RFI or RFP, then making sure we are putting a best foot forward. So I work with them to come up with the architecture, to come up with the response, and help them with the response, assist them with the response. That's the second one that I do. The third one, which I would like to do, which we don't do today at Snowflake, and I think it's changing. I already had chat with Monty, and is working with the partner in front of a customers. Today, if let's say you're doing response to RFP, and then you get selected, and then you want to go to POC. If you go to POC, we still then bring the field sales engineer to the table, and they will work with you for the POC. But what I would like to do is, from partner sales engineering point of view, I would like me to continue till you close the deal, right? And that's what I would see in future happening, but it's not there today. So today is more of an enabling kind of role, more of ensuring that the values of Snowflake platform, the data cloud, are understood by the partner, and they can take that to the customer.
In that kind of change of approach, that you mentioned there, in terms of being involved all the way until ideally a sale is put through, obviously, I just assumed actually that you would be involved because you've got that continuity, you've got that background and context, especially if you've inputted into an RFP or RFI. You don't need to hand that baton over to somebody else then who's coming in that cold with zero context. So is that the thinking behind it, just to have that kind of continuity throughout that sales cycle process, because you've already got a lot of the information there from the work you've done supporting that partner with an RFP response?
Correct. Yes, again, that's my personal thinking. But the way Snowflake works is our field sales engineer is also involved. So they will also be there when you're responding to RFPs and RFIs, and when we are building the architecture, they will still be involved. They will give a final go on the architecture, sizing. When we do the capacity planning, we go to them and we tell them, hey, we have done this capacity planning. This is the architecture. It is good, and they will certify that, saying, yeah, that's correct. So they are involved. So it's not like they have no visibility and they just come into POC or final sale. But from a partner sales engineer, I would like me to be there till the end, to carry the partner, to be with the partner from start of your engagement till the signing off is done. And that's how I would define a partner sales engineering role. But again, Snowflake is it's a new company. The roles are emerging; they're changing always. And I had a chat with my manager Monty, and he said, "Yeah, we'll be having more of a field experience, more to be with the field, and have a hands-on experience with the partners going to the field."
Yeah, and that's Monty Andrew Montgomery, right? And we'll give him a shout out when we
It's
post this
yeah,
on LinkedIn as
he
well.
is a fantastic manager. So yeah, Andrew
You have to say that now,
I,
especially
I
if we're going to
can,
tag him.
Andrew, you're a fantastic manager. Don't forget my promotion.
There you go. You heard it. You heard it here, Monty. So you work as part of Monty's team. Do you have anybody reporting into you, and how big is the team around you that reports into Monty as well?
So it's a very small team. Monty looks after APJ. So it's a APJ role for Monty, and I look after ANZ. So I'm the only resource for ANZ, Australia, New Zealand, from a regional SIs. And then we have got a GSI team, which is a separate team, which doesn't report into Monty. And there's one resource for GSI, whose name is Johannes, who is in Melbourne. And for Monty's team, we have got resources in India, Japan, Korea, and Singapore. So
Okay.
yeah, that's how the team is. So yeah, I think four resources that report to Monty, and we have got some open headcounts there.
Okay. And in your view then, so you're working with, partners on a very regular basis as part of your day-to-day kind of role. What top three kind of characteristics or traits would you say make the best partners to clients, to prospective customers of Snowflake, and almost carry the greatest chance of success of closing a deal? What kind of three factors do you see those most successful partners demonstrate, in your opinion?
So I think the first characteristic should be the partner should work for the customer and not have their own agendas coming to a table. So I always ask my partners to, hey, look at the requirements. What is your requirement from the customer? What is the best technology that suits this particular requirement? And I've always been like that. Even when I was in front of a customer doing my sales engineering role at IBM, I would go in front of customer and say, hey, this is your requirement, this is your problem. And if I can solve your problem, then this is a technology. But if my technology can't, I would just tell my customer, hey, just go somewhere else. Because there's no point, pushing something in front of a customer which is not going to work. And then that's bad for everyone after, 6 months or 1 year when the project is unsuccessful, and the issues start coming up. So
Yeah, I
that's the
agree.
first thing,
So it's that transparency, right, that you need to have to
absolutely
start
100%.
building that trust, right?
Yeah, so that's one. Second is I would say empathy. A lot of times the empathy is missing from individual resources, right? So have empathy towards your customers. When a customer says, "Hey, there's a problem," don't run off or don't just go away. It's your customer, so try and resolve those problems. Try and help the customer. Give the empathy. Apologize to customer whether it's your personal mistake or not. Just saying sorry, I'm sorry, or we are sorry as a company. That itself is a big thing, I would say.
I love
So
that one.
that
I think that I didn't expect you to say that, but I think that's a rare, in my experience, a rare trait that I see given frequently. In a kind of, I guess, a client consultancy kind of relationship, if you like. But I think it's a super important one, and for somebody that's sat on both the kind of consultancy side of the fence and within industry as a role, when you're relying on partners and third parties to deliver stuff, I think having, that self-awareness as a partner to be able to hold your hands up or be able to kind of focus on the challenge at hand and support your clients in the right way, super important and super valuable.
Yep.
And probably I would like to see more of that in the field just generally.
Yep. Yeah. I always think of how I would think about when someone treats me right. And I would like to treat other people and my partners and my customers the same way I expect services from my providers, right? So let's say my internet goes down, I call someone and someone just says, hey, it's not my problem. I would say, then, why are you there? Whose problem it is. It may not be that person's problem or that company's problem, but just listening to me and, giving me advice, best advice, whatever they could, I would appreciate that. And that's what I try to give my customers or my business partner. And
Yeah,
I would like to see my business partners do the same thing with customers, right? Listen to
absolutely.
them, hear them.
Absolutely. Yeah. I like these. This is a good list. So we've got transparency, we've got empathy. What would you say the third one is, the third kind of good, valuable trait for a partner to have to be successful?
So I've seen, and again, it's not anything targeted to any partners, but I've seen partners making a mistake where when everything is going great, they're always there, but when something fails, then they just vanish away. So I would like my partners to take accountability of what they do, right? And be there. I think relationships are built when things are wrong. That's what I believe. When things are good, relationships don't get built because everything is great. No one cares. But when things go bad, that's when the real character of a person, of an organization comes into play. And I would say take the accountability of what you do, whether it's successful, whether it's not successful, just be accountable.
Great. I love that list. That's a really, really good, refreshing list. And I like those kind of values and the way that you approach that, Sagar. So thanks for sharing that, because I think that's going to be valuable and resonate with a lot of people, both partners and clients who are using partners as well. I'm sure they would agree with you on that point. So we looked at your career history and how you got to where you are today. We've talked about what you do on a day-to-day basis at the moment. And I guess my next question is more future facing, future looking. And after over 20 years, 2 decades working in this space, Sagar, where did you see yourself going next? Kind of what kind of goals or career aspirations do you have personally in the near term, the next 3 to 5 years for yourself? Where do you see yourself going in the industry?
So I want to get some roles which are senior roles and provide the expertise that I've gained over 20 years. That's something I would like to see myself doing. I've always shied away doing that for a long time. So always, I always went and did it's like having your own contribution, doing a single contribution, and not as a senior role. I would love to do that, and I should be focusing on that because I know a team, any team, can get benefit from the expertise that I have. So that's something I'm looking at. There's also one thing that I always missed, which I had an aspiration when I was young and when I started my career, is to have my own company, and I never did that. And that's something, again, it's always there at the back of my head saying, hey, I couldn't do that. So if I could, start a company or be part of any company, I would love to do that. And that wouldn't be for money. So it would just be, something which I always wanted to, but I never did it. That thing that you wanted, and I always wanted to play soccer and I never did. And then now I think I should start playing soccer again.
Yeah,
So,
good idea.
yeah, so those are the two things which are they're always there at the back of my head. The third one, which maybe I would do, is join a customer. So I've always been part of a consulting team or a sales team, and always been on the other side of the fence. So maybe I would join a customer. Maybe I don't know. So that might be the third thing. So there are
Wow.
three things which are there in my head.
Yeah.
But current focus is be at Snowflake. Make sure I can get skilled up at what we have at Snowflake, the data cloud. Make sure I can do what I was doing at IBM. Same with Snowflake. If with eyes closed up, I should be able to demo, talk about the capabilities that we have with data cloud. All the sales play that we have. So that's my goal. That's my short-term goal.
That's good. And I guess the point number three, and if any clients are out there, they'll have to watch the space of the future right, and see if you start to become available, right? I got a few more questions to ask you, and I guess the one that I want to touch upon briefly is any particular projects that you've worked on recently at Snowflake or are currently working on, and were quite interesting and unique, and you're able to kind of share, some of the kind of aspects of that project at a high level. You don't need to mention any client names if you're not allowed to, but
Yep.
anything interesting or intriguing that you've came across or that you've seen, or even just as a response to a proposal, be great just to hear about that.
So there were two things, two capabilities in Snowflake which were really amazing, fascinating for me and one of our business partners. So the one was the marketplace sharing. So how easy it is to get data from marketplace and join it with your data sets. So that's one. And second is how easy it is to replicate data across regions and across clouds. So we had a requirement from our business partners who wanted data which was located in North America on a Azure a cloud, and they wanted to get that data into Sydney on AWS. And when we did that in few clicks, and then joined that with Marketplace in another few clicks, that whole process was just amazing to everyone. So business partner to customer and everyone, because imagine replicating data cross region, cross cloud. That itself, in a lot of vendors, including the platforms that I worked on, requires a lot of efforts to set up. And with Snowflake, it was just click of a button. So that was really an interesting use case of sharing data across cloud and across region, and obviously joining that with Marketplace.
Yeah,
that was one. The second one, which we are now looking at, is really replacing the Spark workloads onto Snowpark. So we are going really strong head on at that workload, and it really makes sense. I came from big data kind of area, so I worked in big data when it was hot 4 or 5 years back, and I know the challenges of big data. Hadoop, Spark, and everything. It's so complex, and you don't want to run complex systems. You want easy systems which you can handle. You don't want tens and hundreds of consultants just maintaining the platform. So for me, there's no brainer of moving Spark workloads to Snowflake. And as you know, Snowflake's engine is such a powerful engine. It's elastic, it's flexible, and it just works. There's no maintenance required. It's a SaaS offering. So get that workloads which are there on Spark, so especially Python. So if you're running Python on Spark, get that on Snowpark, because we can now publish and push the workloads onto Snowflake using Snowpark. So those are the two things which really excite me, and I think will be the future for Snowflake.
Yeah, that's great, and I agree. Like the replication and the marketplace one, bringing those two together, as you said, on that use case, I can imagine how impactful that must have been for everybody involved in that project. Based upon trying to do that, like you said, on any other technology out there, there's a lot of kind of configuration and infrastructure work, and that you need to do before you even get to the end goal. And yeah, so I guess you mentioned talent acquisition earlier, and I kind of just wanted to touch upon that very briefly just before we kind of wrap up this conversation. So you mentioned in the context of people coming into Australia trying to fill those gaps from a talent perspective. There's probably more demand than supply by quite a long way at the moment. Certainly since COVID, I've seen that maybe accelerate here just in a short amount of time I've been here. If there's people out there, like maybe especially like in India, like you were many years ago, who are listening to this and who have aspirations to want to get into not only Australia, but maybe into Snowflake and work towards becoming a sales engineer like yourself, what one kind of piece of advice would you give them if you could talk directly to them today?
See, there are more advices that I have. I don't think I can pinpoint to one, but if I have to, I would say follow your passion. Don't give up on your passion. It's sometimes hard to just follow where the market is and go and grab a job where the market is. But I would say follow your passion. I followed my passion for C++, and I did that for 3 years. And then while I was doing that, I started learning. So first one is follow your passion. Second one is never stop learning. You never know where you will grow or blossom, right? And this is funny. I thought that databases and data warehousing I would never enjoy it. So for me, it was all file system, C, C++. But today I know data warehousing in and out. I learned data warehousing. I blossomed into a data engineering technology, data governance, data warehousing. So never shut down yourself from saying, I'm not going to do this. So keep learning and, just explore the opportunities. That's the advice I would give to anyone.
That's great. I think that's great advice. And any particular places you've went to kind of build your experience outside of just your day-to-day job? You mentioned early on in your career you were kind of working in the day on your day job and then going home and kind of writing your own programs in the evening. Today, obviously, the entry level to learn or that barrier to learn and has been significantly lowered, obviously, in the last couple of decades. With the rise of the internet, and there's lots of online courses. Some are free, some are paid for, etc. Where would you say, in terms of a strategy, people should be looking to invest their time if they've identified what their passion is, and they want to follow that? Anything that's been kind of really helpful to you, or have you seen others benefit from it that you think would be worth pointing people in the direction of?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have got so many, and you touch base on this. When I was doing that work long time back in India, I had no help, right? There was no online thing. Now we have got online communities. So there are so many communities online, and not just online, even face to face, where you can go and talk to people with the same expertise or who are on the same career path, and just talk with them and learn from them. That's what I would advise. So go to communities, join the communities, join any forums that are there. People like follow Adam for any Snowflake skills. If you want to learn Snowflake, read Adam's book. So that again comes from forums, right? So if you go to forums and be part of that forum, then you will get to know similar minds in the same kind of area.
Great. And you mentioned a couple of little plugs for myself there, so thanks so much for that. But one thing I did want to mention for you is that you do have your own YouTube channel, Cigar, and you're trying to kind of get it off the ground. So how is that going? And what would people kind of find there if we post the link as part of the release of this chat?
Thanks for highlighting that. So this was again part of my learning curve, right? So I started this channel, I think 1.5 years back, and I was focusing at that time on my presentation skills. So I said the best thing to do is start putting YouTube videos, and I started doing that. I'm a bit slow on that. I'm not like you, Adam. I think I need to invest more time on it. But anything related to data and AI, that's what I would like to post on my YouTube channel. So any learnings that I have, learned from my career, I'll post demonstrations of our products. So Snowflake offerings, any good technology, any good capabilities as part of our platform, I'll be showcasing there. So feel free to subscribe to that channel. And if you have any questions, I would definitely address there on my YouTube channel.
Great, and we'll definitely post a link to your LinkedIn profile, Cigar, so make sure you connect and follow Cigar's LinkedIn profile, and we'll post the link to your YouTube channel as well. So kind of when you get around to kind of adding the more content on there as well, people can start to benefit from there as well. So I think that'd be great if we can help support you and increase that kind of volume subscribers and followers as well for you. So that'll be most welcome, I'm sure. But listen, we're pretty much up against time now, Cigar. So listen, this has been a great conversation, really interesting for me personally to kind of look at that kind of career history, how you kind of use that courage, I guess, to move from different roles and take roles based upon your passion rather than the salary. And then after being at IBM for such a long time, actually taking what some people would consider a bit of a risk in moving out of the comfort zone again after so long, and making it work again. So I really appreciate you making the time. I know how busy you've been this week, and I'm really pleased that we could connect and have this conversation.
Thanks, Adam. Really, really great conversation, and happy to be here. Thank you.
Thanks so much.